Hi Flosstube, it is Helen D. I'm back with another tutorial. Today we're talking chenille. Chenille, if you've watched my videos, is the trim I use the least. I find it finicky to put on. Of all the trims, it's just the one I use the least. But I'm going to show you how to do it in case it's not the one that you like the least. So there are kind of two different schools of thought of adding on chenille. Both are fine, and it really comes down to which one you like the look of better. So this is the pillow that we're going to add it to. This was a little freebie chart. I placed an order with Hands On Design directly from her website last year, I think, and this, she sent me this chart as a thank you. So I don't think that this is available. But that's the one that we're going to finish. But I wanted to show you, this is a piece I had stitched a couple years ago. It's from a Prairie Schooler. It might be Happy Christmas. It might be the extra ornament in Happy Christmas. And this one I finished with chenille. And I sewed it. And by sewing it on, you get this like ruffly, pinched kind of look. So it's really about which look you prefer. So that's what this one looked like. Today I'm going to show you real quick how you would sew it on, and then we're going to glue. Two schools of thought. You can sew or you can glue. So if we were to sew, we would just take sewing thread as close to the color of your chenille as possible. Now because I'm not going to keep this one on there, I'm not going to worry about it too much, and then also it will make it a little easier for you to see. So my thread will not be the same color. It is off-white. I'm just tying a knot in the bottom of my thread, one ply. I'm not doubling it. And I'll throw that on my needle. I'm doing one ply because that way it will hide in there a little better. This chenille is kind of two-toned. It was in a grab bag. A Lady Doc grab bag, and it just happens to match the colors perfectly. So that's the one I'm going to use. But it doesn't, it was probably an oops dye, which is why it's two colors, but for my purposes, that's what I like. So on my pillow, on the bottom, you can see I sewed up the bottom. I didn't even particularly take care because I knew I'd be covering it. So I just kind of sewed it up, also with white thread, not the same color as my fabric. I'm going to come up through the bottom, just so I anchor my thread right in there, pull that through, and then take my chenille. I like to cut off the end so I know I'm starting with a nice clean end. And we're just going to sew this around. It's kind of the same way that you would sew around rickrack. For my purposes, sometimes I like to take a pin just to hold it in place while I'm trying to deal with it so it stops wiggling around. So you'll just, as you can see, I went through the pillow, so I'm now underneath the chenille. I'm going to hold it in place, go over it, and then kind of sew through at an angle. So I'm kind of going down across from where I was, and then over at an angle to move me along down the line. So I came out here and I'm just going down at an angle. So then when I pull this through, as with any trims, the first few are the hardest. That will hold that down in place. And you can see right off, like there's going to be that little bump. So again, I would go over my chenille, down into my pillow, and out at an angle. Pull it through, and it kind of pops in and gives you that little bump. And that's all there is to it for sewing. You just go all the way around. I find chenille harder to hide the edges. Like what I just did when I'm done, I kind of take my nail and rough it up a little bit, and that helps that get on the, helps it hide the thread. But even then, even on this one, you can still see it. So that's how you would sew it on. You would just go all the way around, and then when you get to the other end, just cut them so that they line up. And then you might want to put like a little dab of Aleene's glue down there just to kind of really blend in your two ends. So that's how you would sew your chenille on. If you're like, that seems like a lot of work, there's got to be an easier way, you can join team gluing. I'm just pulling this out. The gluing does give you a different look because it doesn't bump in. It's more of a straight chenille look. So for this one, now we will do team gluing. So I'm using the Aleene's Tacky glue. And I have just a piece of paper here to keep it hopefully from making a mess. And I have a thing of pins. Widen you out just a smidge. The pins help hold it in place as you're gluing and hold it there while it dries. These are vitally important to my way of pinning, of gluing. You could just glue it on and hold it, but with the pins, then I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to start with, I start on the bottom where my seam is. So again, when I'm displaying it, it will kind of be hidden. And I'm going to take my glue and just put some on there. Oh, it's going to be a pain today. I'm just going to use a pin to kind of open that hole up a little bit more. See if that helps. I don't use hot glue on this because you need it to be kind of, there it comes. You need to be able to maneuver it a little bit. So you can see I put a little dab of glue. I'm going to take my chenille. I'm going to go in like a 1/2 inch and lay that right on the glue. Take one of my pins. And hold it right in there. Then I know that that's secure and it's not going to fall off while I'm dealing with the rest of it. So for the rest of it, as I go, I want to make sure that my chenille isn't twisted. So usually I will do like a couple inches at a time, and I'll go in and make sure they're not twisted. Then I'll go in and lay down my line of glue. So I have my glue. Then I can take my chenille, lay it right on, and pin it. So that way I know it's all on there. The Aleene's glue dries clear, so like if you have a little dollop or whatever here and there, it does dry clear. So then again, I'm just going to do this the whole way around. Little glue. I didn't check this one first, so I'll have to do it on the fly just to make sure it's not twisted, and a pin. Sometimes the pins go in easier than others. Untwist this a little bit. Now the pins I usually will leave in there an hour, an afternoon, overnight if I forget about them. I've never had one get glued in, right? I've never had one that's been like not gonna come out when I'm ready for it to come out. So. Alright, I'm just going to turn it off, zip around the other side so you don't need to watch, and then we'll meet up again at the bottom. Alright, we've made it all the way around, just gluing and pinning all the way. These got pushed in a little as I was maneuvering. I'd hit it on my hand or whatever, so it doesn't matter either way. So then on the end, we just need to line these up going to glue a little more here on the edge. Give that a pin. Then I'm going to take my sharp scissors, go in here right to where they meet, and just snip it off. Oops, you can tell I pinned that one real good. Missed it completely. So then I'll just put a little pin here on, a little glue here on this last little section. Glue down both of those ends. This one will get its own pin. And then this one, I'll probably just move this pin over. Now mine's going to be a little more obvious on the bottom because it was that two-toned chenille and there happens to be a color change right there. But that's okay. So like I said, now I just kind of leave these in, and then when the time comes, like I might go through now and see, is there any sections that look like they're not quite connected? Because you want to make sure that the chenille is in the glue and on the fabric. Just put another pin in there. You can't have too many pins. So then I'll give it some time, and then I just pull these out. Just wiggle them out. And it's on there. And then like I said, you can really see the difference with this gluing method compared to the sewing method. It doesn't have that bumpier sewn look. So it really is personal preference. You might like this look, or you might like this quickness of application. So Team Sew versus Team Glue. There's your options.